I'm Andy Ely, Senior Funeral Director for G. Seller Independent Funeral Directors, and we've been serving bereaved families since 1910. I'm sure you're all well aware there's lots of different myths, taboos and misconceptions around what happens behind the scenes within the funeral profession. So we decided to put together this series of podcasts to answer those questions and hopefully dispel those myths. So please do like, share and subscribe, and send those questions, send them to liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk, and we will do our absolute best to answer them for you. It genuinely is our family caring for your family. Welcome to the latest episode of Lifting the Lid. Today I have with me James Crossland from Obitus. Welcome, James.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Safe journey? Good journey?
Very good, yeah.
Excellent.
Seamless.
So James, you're from Obitus.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, what on earth is Obitus? Talk me through it.
It's a very good question. So I get asked this a lot, and the answer is it depends who you are and what your perspective is. So I think at its core, what we're trying to do, or what I've always been cared about trying to do, is better bereavement experiences.
Okay.
What can we do that makes the whole, 'cause it's whatever happens, it's a terrible time in someone's life, but also we're there to remember someone's loved one. And how can we sort of somehow just elevate that experience a little bit and make it as positive as it possibly can be? And therefore, from that perspective, what we do depends on who you are. So if you're a family member, we're trying to support you in one way. If you're a funeral director, such as yourself,
absolutely.
we're trying to do something slightly different. Or if you are a bereavement venue, we're trying to do something slightly different for you as well. So what we are depends. And in that sense, we're a solutions company that provide various different elements of that bereavement experience. So for that family member, it's what you care about the most is the music that you have.
Absolutely. Really emotive.
Yeah. Or it's the visuals on the screen. It's the photography or the visual tribute. Or it might be the live streaming that we provide, or maybe the recording after it. Those are the end experiences that they want. As maybe the officiant, the celebrant or the minister in the church, in the venue, you want that moment that you're in that chapel, you want to be as seamless as possible. So you want the tools and to know that when you're pressing buttons and you're doing things, it's just happening.
You want to know it works, absolutely.
100%. That trust and that reliability is what they want. If you are, similarly, if you're the chapel attendant and you're using that technology or relying on that lighting system or whatever it might be, you just want to know that it's going to do what you want, but also that you have the tools to do it. So that if you're at this stage of the funeral or of the ceremony room or the chapel, that you can just reach and you've got what you want there, or if you're going to be out the back or wherever it is that you can, because all these different venues flow in different ways. Taking that back, then, if you are then yourself as a funeral director, you want to know that you've I don't know whether you've got a portal or that when you order something from us or you ask us a question, we're just there for you. We have the answer. You don't need to worry about the bit of the service of your service, frankly, that we're looking after, that we're in safe hands.
Completely agree.
Yeah. And then finally, I suppose then back to the venue in terms of their administrative function. They want to know that all their upcoming services are dealt with, that they're comfortable, it's in the right place at the right time, the administration's done.
It's the kind of peace of mind, isn't it?
It's that peace of mind, yeah. So that, I suppose, is a very long answer to your very short question. But that is the challenge that we have, is that we have, and it's a wonderful sort of honour to be able to do that. But that for any one funeral, we are thinking about 5 or 6 or 8 different people involved in that funeral and making sure that goes as well as possible.
So it's interesting. And normally, James, I ask a little bit about you, about your background.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to understand what Obitus was, because it's just such a unique name.
Yeah.
So James, I'm just going to roll things back, and then we start talking about
back to
Obitus.
the beginning.
Back to the beginning. So James, what
Yeah.
is your role within Obitus, and how on earth did you come into this position?
So I mean, I'm the founder and managing director.
Okay.
Day to day, I'm not involved in the day to day nowadays. I have been back when we started, but I have a fabulous team now that actually runs it. We have an operations director that makes sure that all the funerals we look after that we support them in the right way. We have a sort of customer team that makes sure that all of our individual, whether it's the funeral directors or the venues are, or indeed the families, are looked after right. And then we have a technology team, because we are, we have a lot of technology and systems all custom made in house that make the whole thing work. So they make all that happen. My role, I suppose, is as a bit of a leader, is to make sure that we are aiming in the right direction, that we are keeping the standards high. I'm very interested in the product side of things, and making sure that the products and services that we're developing and delivering are up to the right standard. Helping innovate, helping understand the industry and what's going on. And kind of guiding and advising, and I think that's probably my main role now in the company.
Okay. Yeah. How did you come into this?
Many years ago. So I've been in the sector a long time. Actually, when I was still at uni, I started doing work in live streaming for a guy called John Purcell at Breakspear Crematorium. He was a bit of a visionary, a bit of a maverick, and he asked me to put a live streaming system in. Back in, I want to say, like 2008, 2009.
So that's actually quite early, isn't it?
Very early, yeah. And we put this very customized one-off system in, and it worked brilliantly in some ways. It had its challenges in other ways, because it was, like you say, quite early on. And he and then he sort of said, "Oh, well, thanks for this." He said, "Oh, can you do a music system as well? And could you put me a screen?" And he kind of brought us along a bit. And from that, we get another customer, and then, it's been a long story. So, we've been doing this a long time. But I'm sure, as you know, in this, when you work, it is that time served that's important. It is that experience and that knowledge that you gain as time goes on that really helps you.
Yeah, and you improve the service, you learn, you develop, push forward. What's
important to families, and the nuance to it as well. I often describe it to new colleagues that join our team as you talk about the onion with its layers, and you think you understand the funeral sector and how it works, but you really never do. I still learn stuff all the time. I learned stuff today looking around actually your own fabulous venues, just all this little detail. So yeah.
Perfect. So you spoke about there early on in what Obitus is, relationships with the venue, relationships with the funeral director, which are great relationships. Obviously, we're facilitating that funeral service. We need to know that everything's working properly. Yes. Something that's always intrigued me and I find really interesting is the fact that we can assign the person leading the service, so the officiant. So is that someone that you communicate with as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yes, so we have an active, we have a lovely colleague, Janine, who engages with all the officiants throughout the country. We have several thousand that are sort of like, signed up or part of our system. And we recognised a while ago, we felt that the officiants and the arrangers are sometimes a slightly underrepresented. We think within the sector as a whole, or that their voice isn't maybe heard as much as it should. So we put a lot of effort into trying to understand their needs and trying to support them, because they, at the end of the day, everyone throughout the journey of designing and bringing a funeral together is doing something important, but the officiants are the ones that are actually, for that moment. In the chapel, where you're there, everyone's focused their attention on them. That moment is special and important, and we wanted to make sure that they have all the tools and the knowledge to be able to deliver that ceremony that funeral as perfectly as possible.
Absolutely. So as the funeral director, I always say to my family, at the point at which we enter the chapel, we lay to rest in the chapel, we take a step back then as the funeral director. We're at the back, we're part of that service, but we're in the hands of someone else. So I like the fact that the officiant is integrated properly into that service, because from our perspective, making sure everything works and everything meshes together is exactly what we want. So let's just talk through the services in a bit more detail. So we've spoken about music, we've spoken tribute, streaming. So have you noticed a change over the years? So my thoughts on the streaming in particular, I didn't realise you started that early, because I thought COVID was something that really forced the changes. So have you noticed an increase in this?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was the funny thing there was a time when I used to look at that streaming thing and go, it was almost, if I say it was a lost leader, in that the amount of energy that it took us to develop it and run it and whatever wasn't, that people just didn't really select it that often. It was more of a service we provided because when families needed it, they really needed it because they had a colleague, friend in Australia or whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
But then it slowly started ramping up, and then, which you saw naturally anyway. Zoom and Microsoft Teams and things like that were around before the pandemic, and people had started to use that as a technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was the pandemic that really was almost the coming of age of that as a service.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it wasn't nothing about the technology changed, but it was the use case for it suddenly became viable.
Yeah.
And so, or acceptable to do that. I think sometimes before you might have said, well, okay, let's just take it back to like a meeting. There was lots of times when you just couldn't have had a meeting before. If you'd have said to someone, I know, let's not meet in person or have a phone call. Let's all jump on and look at each other on a screen, and everyone would have been like, why do we want to do that?
Yeah.
Whereas suddenly it became acceptable afterwards. And I think likewise the funeral streaming side of things, it just, and I'm not saying it's exactly the same as being there because it's still a different experience, but I think it wasn't just to the person viewing, but I think also to the family that are arranging the funeral, it almost seems acceptable to them that someone might watch online on a live stream and a reasonable thing for that to happen. So yeah, I think definitely there's been a big jump in demand. It obviously went up quite high in the height of the lockdowns.
Yep.
But then it stayed at a much higher level than it ever was before.
We'd like to just pause and take a moment to mention our partner for this podcast, Obitus. Obitus take a customer-first approach and are dedicated to giving families more ways to say goodbye. By working closely with venues and funeral directors like myself across the UK, Obitus ensures that the funeral service is personalised and reflects the life lived. From high-quality music and on-screen tributes to seamless streaming and keepsakes to cherish forever, Obitus adds a personal touch, giving families the freedom to honour their loved ones in their own unique way. You can find out more at www.obitus.com/LTL.
So talking on the media, the videos, the music as well, the personalisation level of it, is this? So sometimes families ask me, I've recorded a piece on the guitar. Can we have that? Yeah. Is this something we can offer?
100%. Yeah. We are. As I say to my team, we're never trying to control or have some monopoly over the media or the content that comes onto our system. We are in many ways I don't want to devalue what we do by just saying we're a delivery service, but we're a platform that lets people select or provide content that they want, and we make sure that content's in the right place at the right time for the right service. So absolutely, whether it's the whatever photos or videos the family might want, or that personalized music content, or if it's an off the shelf or easily accessible like Taylor Swift track. Or if it is, actually, I want the 1976 version of Elton John live in Tokyo, that's our job to go find that. And, our team love that.
And you do go find that. When I'm looking for music, the stuff that you have on there, I'm like, wow. Yeah. I didn't know there was that many variations that particular track is. And then you've got to get the right one. Which is
it takes a lot of time. But our team genuinely love doing that search. And if you come to our office, you will see we have this giant wall just full of LPs and CDs. And,
oh, wow, okay.
I'm not sure if we have many cassette tapes. We must have them somewhere as well. But there's a lot of, every day we're getting piles of stuff coming in that we've had to buy from all over the world to deliver that funeral that the family want.
So after the service, keepsakes. What do you offer from that perspective? So I know of one particular item that you're quite excited.
Yes. So we have a few options now. The keepsakes. So for a while we've done the DVDs and the USBs.
Yep.
And we were honestly doing it, okay, and nice enough packaging that we used to print on, but it kind of came in a standard Amaray case, which is like the industry standard.
Yeah.
You go to a shop and you buy an Amaray case. But then I got a bit ambitious and I was like, right, as is often the case, I often say to people, right, we need to do something better. And what I want it like, I want a lovely sort of material finish, and then I want the name like printed on that material, and then I want the funeral director's details, and I want all these things putting on the case. Sort of like, how hard can it be? Let's just go off and do it. And it really did turn into quite a mission that's taken us. We've travelled all over Europe to find the best suppliers of this stuff. We've found this to print on top of this material. If you want to print on stuff at high volume, easy. If you want to print on stuff at a low volume, easy. If you want to do it at a sort of medium volume, which we do, it's quite hard to get the process right, and also to do that at a price point which is accessible and affordable, which is what we're trying to do. So we ended up having to take on another unit in the office park. We had to knock half the wall down to get this printer in, which is absolutely giant. Not sure if you can see that on the screen, but it is. Trust me, it's big.
That'll be on the white screen.
It's basically a UV spot printer which will print on any material, and it needs to be able to adjust for the height and to do it at a certain volume. And anyway, so we've now got it, and we now have these 4 different options: the DVD or the USB. We have what we call a memory box, which is a lovely large box where we actually take the photographs that the family have sent to us.
Yeah.
We print them out, so you've got a physical copy of it.
Yep.
And we have a DVD and we have a USB all included.
Perfect.
And the final thing we offer is what we call a video book, and that is looks like a book from the outside. When you open it up, it has a lovely LCD screen inside it, which I think you've seen.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that'd be great.
You can have the recording of the service, and or you can have the tribute on there as well. It plays it out to you. And it works so well for someone, because not everyone has an iPad or a big phone, and so it's just this one thing that you can go to and say, this is that service for that loved one.
Perfect.
So a range of options there. That, as I say, it was a very simple idea to begin with. It took a lot of effort to get to
That's something a family can keep.
Yes. Yeah.
For the future.
Yeah.
All these services that you offer, how do they sort of enhance that farewell experience for the family?
Yeah.
You've kind of touched on that, but just let's focus on that.
How do we bring all that together? And I think for us it's just about options and choices for people. We don't believe that anyone should have a certain element or product or service, but what we want to do is just say to people, this is available, and you choose what's right for you, because every funeral is completely unique, as we all know. And so, I mean, I think that at the very basic level, I think what should be important is that the funeral should be personalised as far as reasonably possible for every family member. So we offer a range of personalisation options where where we think they should be at no cost. We don't always have complete control over that, because it's up to individual venues what they choose to do. But there's several things that we offer at no cost. So that is music, because that is so personal. We think there should be a photo of the deceased at every funeral, and then just to make sure their name is present and visible around the place. So that's, I think, the very basic level. And then after that, we can, if music was important, then, as you know, we go get more music. There is a range of options for the imagery or the visual experience, and which can be anything from just some nice photos on a slideshow to something a lot more involved with these themed tributes that we now do as well, where they say, actually, I was into gardening, or I was into sailing, and therefore you can bring that.
You can tailor it to suit the individual.
100%.
Brilliant.
But then that's, and I don't know if you want to go on to this, but then we've got these big ambitions for where we want to go with the future for that.
So that was going to be my next question. Okay. Innovation is the future. What does it look like?
Yes. So we, I've travelled around. I like to think that all that we're really doing is we're just looking and seeing what's out there in the rest of the world, and we're trying to bring those technologies in there. So if you go to one or two of the theatres or experiences that are in London, or anywhere in major cities nowadays, you can see there's a real big use of audiovisual audiovisual technologies. A lot of funeral venues use, if I'm honest, some relatively straightforward audiovisual technology.
I can believe it.
How we do it is we do it at a very high standard. It's high quality, it's reliable and consistent, so it's good. But it's not. We're not really pushing the boundaries in terms of what the audiovisual experience can be. So we are in the middle of developing we have developed really a new solution. We've had it working in our office now for about 9 months, and it's due to be going in a funeral venue not too far from here, which is the exciting thing for you.
That's good.
It will be an option for you and your families as well. And we're going to be putting that in as a test venue, and it's sort of going in over the next 2 or 3 months. It's then going to be getting slowly turned on with some more elements to the experience, and it will be there as an option for family members. But it will really, it just takes it to the next level. I can't give too much away.
I was going to say, come on.
No, I can't give too much away, but it's about, let's not just have it as one small screen medium-sized screen in the chapel. What if we just filled the room with whatever that experience is going to be? So that's the basic concept.
I'm quite intrigued by that.
Yeah.
And you say that's not too far from us?
Not too far from you. Yeah.
Brilliant.
You will learn about it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So technology has a real important role in, that farewell service and changing the traditional service into something fresh, something new, something personal.
Yes.
Obitus, a really important part of that. Is there anything else that you want to tell me? Give me an insight into something?
I think the only other thing I'd probably add, other than some of the stuff we've touched on, is I suppose there's probably 2 elements that I think. So we talk more about the family facing, or the funeral, or the funeral venue facing things. What I think often when people come to our office, and our office is very open, anyone can come and see it, and we're very whether it's colleagues or customers or suppliers, we get everyone together, and we're very open, and transparent as a company.
Good.
It's about being very customer focused, and everyone can say they're customer focused, but it's so many companies say it but don't do it.
Yeah.
And yet I hear time and time again from people that have visited our office that how surprised they are that genuinely that's the drive and the focus of our team, and just how much they care. And I can only say, I'm sure some of them will watch this, but just how grateful I am to them and proud I am of what we do every day to support so many funerals, and then also probably finally some of that technology that underpins it, because the idea for us is you make it look simple, you make it look seamless. You go on your website, you click a button, you ring someone up, and it just happens.
It just happens.
But there's so much technology and care and attention that goes in behind the scenes to make it all to make it all happen, and to keep on raising those quality standards that we have to make sure that every family gets that best experience possible.
Brilliant. You do a really good job from our perspective. It's really, really user friendly.
You.
So I'm quite excited to see what these new innovations are.
Yeah.
But James, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the journey down.
Great.
So please, if you do have any questions, please do like, share, subscribe. Any questions, of course, to the usual address, liftingthelid@gseller.co.uk. And we'll see you next time.